Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Alpha of Earth, last of his kind. With Dagon's death by the apex matriarch of the Mutos in Godzilla Aftershock, the Alpha of Earth is seemingly the last of his kind, the last Titanish Gojira. Which leads me to ask, what if there was another? How would the MonsterVerse evolve and react if another member of the species was found? What if Godzilla had a son, a Godzilla Jr., if you will, within the MonsterVerse? Before I dive into this scenario, I do want to give a massive shout out and thank you to Alpha Titan YouTube member 23 Travis for suggesting this scenario in the first place. Now to set the stage of this scenario, we'll first need to figure out where we can place this juvenile Godzilla, and luckily for us, the film Godzilla, King of the Monsters gives us the perfect entry point for our young Saurian to appear. See, at the very end of the movie, reporter Stephen Martin writes about the discovery of a new egg. While theorized to be that of Mothra, what if we change fate to have this egg be that not of the Queen of the Monsters, but that of the Godzilla species? While this may sound strange for a random egg of another species to be discovered in the heart of this Mothra's territory, we do know that the two Titan species share a symbiotic relationship. Thus, what if this egg isn't random? What if this Mothra purposely claimed this territory in China to ensure if the King of the Monsters were to ever fall in battle, another could uphold the mantle of Alpha of Earth? Thus, be it by accident or purpose, the egg cracks in 2019. From within a splintering shell, a new member of the ancient species greets the world. And at least for Monarch, while an exciting subject to monitor and study to further understand the Godzilla species, this new youngster creates a massive, unavoidable headache for the Titan overseeing organization. Just to stress, the issues are not from Godzilla Jr. If we assume Mothra's egg is equal in size to this Godzilla egg, just to account for the initial misidentification, then we can reasonably assume Mothra larva and Godzilla Jr. would share roughly the same stats, making Godzilla Jr. about 20 meters tall and about 30 meters long. We can also assume this new member of the Godzilla species wouldn't be actively hostile upon its hatching. Now for footage and personality traits, I'm mainly referencing the Heisei era's Son of Godzilla, but even in the MonsterVerse, there's plenty of evidence to suggest the Godzilla species as a whole is benevolent. Take for instance the main monster himself, Godzilla. When provoked, he'll destroy humanity's creations without a second thought, but overall, he won't actively squish the tiny mammalian insects running by his feet. Just take his travel in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. While he could trample through the city, usually he stuck to waterways that were less populated. Again, the word to focus on is less. There is also Dagon, who we can assume based on legend coexisted with ancient humanity and was looked upon positively. All this is to say, Monarch isn't too concerned of the youngster, which is probably interacting well with the scientists studying him. What they are worried about, though, is the potential firestorm brought upon by Godzilla's wrath when he senses the youngster. Genetic testing ties this new Godzilla to that of the Alpha of Earth, despite his inability to summon atomic fire, and fears quickly spread that if not reunited soon, Godzilla may sense the hatching and come to retrieve the new member of his species. Which wouldn't be a problem, except if the egg was found in Mothra's territory, the outpost the egg would be taken to would be the newly repaired Outpost 61 in Yunnan Province, China. And I can imagine the Chinese Communist Party, likely running China in this world, not looking upon Monarch kindly if they were to allow Godzilla to stomp across their nation. Thus, China requests the young Godzilla to be reunited post-haste. Moving the infant is relatively easy. Drugging the giant and carrying him across China, like what we see with Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong, would be a no-brainer. The main difficulty is how to lure Godzilla. Luckily for Monarch, with this taking place after Godzilla King of the Monsters, the organization just unlocked such an ability with the finalized Orca device. With this taking place weeks after Godzilla King of the Monsters, Mark Russell would be understandably mourning the loss of his wife, Emma Russell. Though, as the premier expert on the Orca, and with the significance of this operation, I doubt he would say no when asked to assist on this venture. Thus, he's brought on board to reunite father and son, with the caveat that Madison Russell joins him. While no doubt dangerous, I highly doubt Mark would want to leave his daughter alone in the US so close to the death of Emma. Madison's likely still distraught, still processing the loss, and perhaps them doing something together will help each of them mourn their loved one. And help it does, as in the days leading up to the transfer, Madison uses the Orca to communicate with Junior. This isn't like when Madison blared the Orca to luring King Ghidorah to Boston, but more so like her experience with the larva. Now officially, these communication sessions are to ensure if Godzilla doesn't show up, they can keep the youngster calm and in the local area. Unofficially though, Mark isn't so blind to see the positive effects this is having on Madison Russell's mental health. She's a big fan of Godzilla after all, and now she's a fan of Godzilla Jr. too. But all these niceties must come to an eventual end. Godzilla Jr. is moved to China's coastline before speakers blare a call specifically designed to lure in Godzilla. Dorsal spine shear through distant waves. The Alpha of Earth rises from the depths and discovers the new Titan. Saurians stare at another, all while members of Monarch smile at the unification they spearheaded. The King of the Monsters slowly shifts his attention back to the open sea. Godzilla Jr. takes a few steps, giving chase to his familiar member, merely for the youngster to look up and realize that Godzilla's already gone. It doesn't take a Monarch scientist to understand what just happened. Godzilla's gone to the corner store to pick up some milk and cigarettes, and as the hours pass with Godzilla Jr. patiently waiting on the beach for dear old dad to return, it's clear to every bystander Godzilla isn't coming back from the corner store. But why? Why would Godzilla abandon a member of his own species? The events of Godzilla Dominion were occurring as the operation was underway, so Godzilla was a little preoccupied when humanity called. But that isn't the main reason Godzilla left. To understand the true reason, we must look at Godzilla's character and the history of his species. Godzilla was not always alone. There were other Godzillas, others which, while not gifted with the atomic power which courses through the Alpha's dorsal shoots, were still terrifying titans in their own right. But as the ages passed, he did not favor his own kind over others. While he could have killed other titans, ensured his own species' domination upon the planet Earth, Godzilla instead allowed every species to thrive at the cost of his own. Even predators like the Mutos he gave a chance, even when some of their kind killed his own. On a side note, this is why Godzilla and Kong make such good frenemies. In a lot of ways, their respective tragedies as the last members of their kind are inversions of what the other went through. Kong never truly knew his own kind, and to survive Skull Island, he was forced to become king. To become the strongest, to maintain balance upon his home and establish a connection with all life on Skull Island to fill the void of what he never had, a family. By contrast, Godzilla, from what we know, has lived a life comprised of thousands, if not millions of years. He assuredly had a family, knew others like him, but to maintain balance across Earth, to become a king of all monsters, he did not favor his own species' survival, and allowed them to fade away to nothing more than myth. Now, Godzilla isn't ruthless, he likely does still care, and he's likely happy to see a member of his own species still lives. But he isn't going to hold Junior's hand here. He isn't going to play favorites. If Junior is to thrive in this balanced ecosystem, it will be of his own strength. Back to Monarch's experts, they are probably stumped, just like Mark Russell is, on what to do now. They very well can't leave Junior to fend for himself, nor can they just take him back to Outpost 61. Another Titan may eventually claim Mothra's undefended territory, and if that happens, things wouldn't look great for Godzilla Jr., who, again, is only about 20 meters tall. Monarch would also not be blind to the fact that if this current Godzilla were to ever fall, like he almost did with King Ghidorah, having a replacement which could be taught to be friendlier to humanity would be a priceless investment. So, what to do? Where to go? Well, after much discussion, yelling, screaming, a combination of all three, the upper brass of Monarch decide where to place Junior. His new home is Outpost 33. aka Skull Island. A place no other Titan will venture to, and perhaps most importantly, an island where the local monster won't kill Godzilla Jr. on sight. Apologies for the interruption, but by far most of you are not subscribed. To stay up to date with these future releases, please consider doing so, or at the very least, leaving a like. Thank you. Now I know what you may be saying, and yes, if Monarch knew just how much bad blood existed between the Godzillas and the Kongs, this wouldn't be an option on the table. But ignorance is a sweet bliss, is it not? So unaware of the pair's past, a depressed Godzilla Jr. is dropped upon Skull Island. Seeing the positive impacts the young Saurian had upon his daughter, and no doubt requested to be on standby with the Orca in case things go south, Mark and Madison make their way to Skull Island too, able to witness Kong's first meeting with Godzilla Jr. Now, if Godzilla Jr. and Kong were alone, things probably wouldn't end up going well, as I'm pretty sure everything cold-blooded on Skull Island has tried to kill Kong at least once. So it's likely Godzilla Jr. is introduced with humans nearby. Seeing he's not a threat, Kong would most likely allow Godzilla Jr. to live under his watch, which does beg the obvious question, what does Godzilla Jr. think of this whole situation? Well, seemingly being rejected by your kind probably isn't doing any favors for the young Saurian's mental state. Sure, the humans and Kong likely treat him well, but instinct will drive Jr. to grow, to overcome whatever deficiency he possesses to earn the respect of the Godzilla which abandoned him. Even if in reality, there is no fault to be found in him. And what better way would there be to get stronger than following the strongest creature on Skull Island, Kong? I can imagine Kong battling skullcrawlers or some other threat merely for Jr. to jump into the fray as an ally. Is Kong annoyed at the Saurian's involvement? Oh, no doubt. But when this one-off event becomes the norm, do I think the king of Skull Island will finally relent? I mean, Kong isn't going to kill Godzilla Jr. for helping him. He's far too compassionate for that. And as a lonely king, one that can no doubt recognize another intelligent Titan, does Kong grow fond of the meddlesome reptile? Months continue to pass, with Monarch ensuring Godzilla Jr. receives all the radiation he needs through pre-created meals. Monarch probably has enough here to sate the young prince. I mean, what country on the planet wouldn't want to get rid of their essentially radioactive trash for a creature to consume? But, as I mentioned earlier, Godzilla Jr.'s drive to become stronger will ensure he searches for other sources of radiation. And while there is none on Skull Island's surface, below is another story. Thus, Godzilla Jr. descends where devils stir, turning his desire for growth into a real-life roguelike. Every descent is essentially a new run. He could find a group of skullcrawlers or strike gold with a radioactive vein. A horn-crest chameleon may prove overwhelming at first, but after a few runs, the Kaiju could prove nothing more than an easy foe to challenge and a stepping stone for new and powerful threats. Ultimately, Kong's teaching Jr. how to fight smarter. Humanity's making him kinder, while the primordial abyss beneath Skull Island is turning what was once an inexperienced Saurian into a lethal fighter. What ultimately breaks this cycle of growth is Apex's ambition. Walter Simmons' desire to usurp Godzilla would lead him to fund Monarch's exploration of the Hollow Earth. Honestly, if Godzilla Jr. possessed the same azure atomic power of his father, Apex would have figured out a way to extract it. Instead, things play out as they did in Kingdom Kong. Kamazotz ascends after Skull Island's main Hollow Earth portal is opened by humanity, turning the Isle into a storm-covered war zone. One bright side in this timeline would be the increased military and civilian personnel located on Outpost 33, a necessity considering the young Godzilla's presence upon the Isle. Kamazotz's minions would be in a rougher spot due to said forces, though considering their vast numbers, humanity will suffer their own losses, and at least at first, the horde from the depths will definitely have the edge. Outpost 33 would come under siege, death descending on leathery wings until a desperate call from the Orca by a young girl summons a reptilian defender. To be clear, Jr. would have been en route to protect the squishy humans nearby, including the Russell family, with or without the Orca. Jr. should be able to make short work of any darkness dweller that foolishly picks a fight with him, mainly because of two factors: size and experience. For a species which measures their lives in thousands if not millions of years, I doubt Jr. would be reaching adult height anytime soon. But if he started it as something like 20 to 30 meters when born like Mothra larva, after 2 years with constant radioactive courses, I guess he's over 35 meters by now. Taller than Kong in the 70s, and when supplemented with his experience fighting what lingers beneath Skull Island, a protector able to make short work of whatever descends upon him. Quick tangent, but I should note that if Godzilla Jr. did somehow stumble upon Kamazotz during one of his underground runs, then this scenario would definitely end. He wouldn't have stood a chance against a bat who is currently giving Kong a solid run for his money. Hearing Kong's cries of war though, and with the nearby horde thinned, Junior charges forth to help his friend. After a calamitous fall and impact, Kamazotz moves in for the kill on Kong, merely for Godzilla Jr. to jump on the bat. Claws and teeth slashing his leathery hide refocuses the bat, who quickly realizes the nuisance attacking him is a new, tantalizing opportunity. I mean, think of the possibilities. If Kamazotz were to eliminate Godzilla Jr., it would mean that he's one step closer to assuming his spot of Alpha of Earth, well, once Godzilla falls, and after the past few years, those odds are looking better and better. So the devil unleashes a sonic screech upon Junior, yet to the annoyance of the bat, the reptile doesn't stay down. Deciding to let gravity finish him off like Kong, Kamazotz delivers a kick upon the youngling before ascending high into the atmosphere. Junior falls moments later, a cry of fear coming like thunder. Atomic fire then cleaves through the storm like lightning, and while it doesn't strike Kamazotz, the bat reels in surprise. To stress, this was not a blast from Junior, who again lacks the same star-gifted power of his dear old dad. The blast came from another, an Alpha of Earth stomping his way across Skull Island. To explain why Godzilla is picking a fight with Kamazotz, we have to go back a few years. Now, while he left Junior on the shores of China to decide his own fate, I can't imagine Godzilla allowing the young Saurian to be placed on Skull Island with his history with the Kongs. He'd likely bolt to the island, ready to surge inland if he sensed any conflict between Kong and Junior. With no battle taking shape, whether it be after days or weeks, Godzilla likely returns to his normal globe-trotting routine. Skull Island would just be a new stop on his worldwide tour, to check in on things. That is, until Kamazotz ascended onto Skull Island. Again, Godzilla normally wouldn't care, but now literally engulfed by the problem, I doubt a monster so focused on balance would be able to turn a blind eye to the chaos unfolding around him. Now take a moment and think about this from Kamazotz's point of view. He doesn't know about Junior's relationship with Godzilla. For all he knows, the Alpha of Earth is here to protect the other member of his species, a youngster the King Below just attempted to kill. If Kamazotz doesn't kill Godzilla, then surely the king will silence him. So Kamazotz soars toward Godzilla, clear intent to kill. And as you might expect, Kamazotz doesn't live long after making such a move. Shifting from that bloodbath to Kong in this situation, Junior's attack served as a great distraction, a moment to catch his breath, to clear his head, and spot the lizard falling from on high. There's no doubt in my mind that the great ape would jump skyward, catching Godzilla Jr. and ensuring what happened to Godzilla in 2019 doesn't replicate itself here, not that he would know of those events. With Kamazotz somewhere between a flame-covered corpse and ash, Godzilla likely spots Kong saving the young Saurian. And with this positive experience, it likely colors Godzilla's view of the ape in a few ways. For one, it shows the Alpha this ape isn't like the ones which he fought in the past during the Godzilla-Kong War. If this Kong was willing to save a member of Godzilla's species, it confirms the sneaking suspicion he's had since Junior appeared on Skull Island. Mainly that this great ape is isolated from those locked deep beneath the hollow earth, hostile intentions included. What this also means with Kamazotz dead is Kong is the proper ruler of Skull Island, meaning the storm high above will have to go. So depleting his reserves in one spiral-coated blast, Godzilla dissipates the raging tempest. Balance is restored, a debt paid, and Godzilla Jr. awakening at Kong's side, he gets to witness Godzilla vanish into the distant shores once more. Sadly, while the storm which Kamazotz disrupted is no longer over the island, likely the damage has been done. the local iwi swept away by the flash floods suddenly brought upon them, or fatally swarmed by Kamazotz's minions. For the sake of this scenario and continuity, we'll assume that Gia is once again the sole survivor, saved by Kong once he reaches the iwi tribe's village. So despite losing the iwi, the elimination of the storm plaguing Skull Island does change a few things as we approach the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. No storm means there is no massive outpost built over the island. Further exploration can also be done of Skull Island's Hollow Earth entry point without the Tempest or Kamazotz to worry about. Thus, when Godzilla begins to run rampant, sensing King Ghidorah's revival, there isn't any worry of crossing Godzilla in the open ocean. The Heaves can enter the Hollow Earth with Kong by their side without leaving the island. However, contrary to what you may think, Apex isn't prioritizing Kong's entry, but Junior's. Think about this for a moment from Apex's point of view. They are desperate to get their hands on a sufficient power source for their ultimate mechanical killer, Mechagodzilla. Which leads to the question, which monster would you follow if you're trying to find said power source? Kong, or a monster which has been shown to absorb the very power you're looking for? Don't get me wrong though, the expedition very much wants Kong to join the party. After another 2.5 years, Junior is probably around 40 to 45 meters in height, gargantuan compared to a human, tiny compared to the 100-meter tall ape, or really any other titan they can expect to find. So to get Kong on side, Gia and Dr. Andrews accompany Dr. Lin into the subterranean realm. Maya Simmons and her goons join too, yet there's also another pair which accompanies the group, this being Madison and Mark Russell. After 5 years, they're the humans that likely have the closest relationship to Rahab, which is Madison's nickname for the young Saurian, meaning Prince of the Primordial Abyss, a fitting term for a lone lizard prone to venturing beneath the surface of Skull Island. But back to the relationship, the pair's connection to Junior would also be bolstered by the communicative wizardry of the Orca. Finally, I should say whether Mark wants to go or not, I think Madison will find a way to get her dad on side. I mean, Madison will likely smell something is off with Apex's plans from the start. Not to mention, after Kamazotz's ascension, she'd likely have grown close to Gia by this point, being the only other young person on the island. Each have lost family to monsters after all, and knowing that hardship should likely be there for Gia, including on their trip to the Hollow Earth. Anyway, the expedition goes forth. The monsters venture through the Hollow Earth, with Godzilla Jr. leading the charge. However, I can't say it'd be all that productive. Being young, easily distracted, and headstrong, Junior's search I don't think would ultimately amount to much. Hollow Earth energy, after all, isn't natural for the Godzilla species. Based on what lore we know, Godzilla's atomic might is the exception, not the standard. Would Junior find radioactive veins deep within the Hollow Earth? Sure, but I have my doubts on him proverbially striking gold, if you will. So after enough time passes, Kong lets his instincts lead the group. The ancient temple is found. Drones examine overflowing veins of Hollow Earth energy, with Maya Simmons not giving away her family's ultimate plan. There are 2 titans which would kill her, not to mention her men. And so long as her dad gets the necessary power, does her revealing Apex's ultimate ambitions really matter? Plus, by the time she's on the surface, no one would be able to stop her dad. Godzilla would be dead. Mechagodzilla, the new apex titan of Earth. And before you ask, no, Godzilla would not create a hole to the Hollow Earth with his more positive feelings of Kong. When he senses what Kong and Junior are up to, he's annoyed, but not blow a hole through the Earth mad. So back to the surface the expedition go, learning about what transpired in Hong Kong. Godzilla made landfall, Mechagodzilla broke through the nearby mountain and engaged the beast in a vicious 1v1. A fierce fight ensued, ending in Godzilla's destruction. Sorry about that, I misspoke. To clarify on the script, it's the Mechagodzilla's destruction. Yeah, there we go. The King of the Monsters' victory had nothing to do with Godzilla not fighting Kong, or being at full power for this 1v1. What ultimately spelled Mechagodzilla's doom was actually Godzilla Jr. Remember the brief test between Mechagodzilla and the Skullcrawler? Well, there is no reason that wouldn't still happen here, meaning Godzilla would sense where his new enemy is. Thing is, without Kong able to fight, and more importantly, the dead ends Godzilla Jr. would cause the expedition to experience, Apex just runs out of time. Mechagodzilla is launched without Hollow Earth energy, and while it can fight for a time, eventually it'll run into the same energy issues Apex were attempting to avoid. Now, I can hear you guys saying that Skull Island is closer to Hong Kong than Antarctica, so Kong would have less of a distance to travel when he eventually takes the lead. And while that is true, what is also true is the expedition wouldn't be moving at the speed of Kong, but the smaller, slower reptile. Sure, after years of underground ventures, this Godzilla would be more acclimated to land than water. He's likely lean, fit, and can run a good distance. But even I find it hard to believe Junior could keep up with Kong for the entire journey and be just as fast as the ape. A bit anticlimactic, I know, but ultimately, it's Godzilla Jr. that serves as Mechagodzilla's ultimate foil. Though what will happen with Apex's ambitions now public? With no Rampage, the Simmons family is very much still alive, just like Ren Serizawa. Can Apex recover? Can Junior find the strength to match his father? And what of the young one's friendship with Madison Russell and Kong? How will that continue to evolve? Well, sadly, that is where I must leave this Alpha Titan selected scenario. A scenario chosen by 23 Travis, who makes videos like these possible for you to enjoy. If you want the chance for your own scenario to be covered on the channel, or wish to ensure this scenario gets a second part, become a YouTube member today. You'll get plenty of perks, like voting on every scenario, just like the next entry, what if the Pacific Rim breach opened in the MonsterVerse? As always, I'm GrayShot151, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, later.